As a survivor of narcissistic abuse, you learned to disconnect from your body. Why? Because it was extremely overwhelming to stay aware of what was going in there all the time. Therefore, you became more head-centered and everything else was contained within the body. Now, this disconnection may manifest in myriad ways, most of which you may think are not related to your experience of surviving the narcissist. And that's why in today's episode, I'm going to show what this disconnection looks like and explain to you how to heal your body. Let's watch a small video clip together to find out how mind-body disconnection may manifest in a narcissistic abuse survivor. Let me know which one of these have you struggled with a lot. I'm your host, Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional and a psychologist. Let's go through all these trauma responses one by one. A small disclaimer before we get started. The struggles that you watched in that small video clip are not just experienced by narcissistic abuse survivors. Neurodivergent folks, people who have ADHD and are on the spectrum of autism can also struggle with the same things without any trauma history. So keep that in mind. Just because somebody struggles with these things does not automatically mean that they have survived narcissistic abuse. Even though trauma manifests in mysterious ways and sometimes there is an overlap between different conditions. Mind-body disconnection, symptom number 1, lack of spatial awareness and disorientation. I can't tell you how many times I have struggled with bumping into things, knowing quite well the place that I would be living in, but still I would bump into place. Occasionally it's okay for that to happen, but if that happens on a regular basis and you bump into the same thing again and again and again, that clearly shows you are not in your body, that you are either overthinking, you're ruminating, you're somewhere else, feeling something else. Maybe you are living in a constant flashback of what happened and you're trying to resolve all the questions the narcissist left you with. All the trauma has taken over and that is what consumes you. Your body doesn't have a direction. Bumping into objects and things also shows that you are dissociated from the place that you're living in. Physically, you may be safe. You may be living far away from the narcissist and it may be your own place. But mentally, it's possible that you're still living in that environment. Mentally, you have not left yet, which is why you have not absorbed the awareness of the place that you live in at a subconscious level. This is such a traumatic thing to experience because many people fall prey to blaming and shaming themselves. Other people may call you clumsy. What's wrong with you? Watch for your legs. What's going on? Why can't you be alert? It's not about alertness. It's about trauma and how that has impacted you. A lot of female survivors of narcissistic abuse are further invalidated by being told that their lack of spatial awareness has something to do with their menopause, which may or may not be the case, but it's like, oh, it'll be okay. It'll get better as time passes, but that never happens and they blame it on their menopause, their hormones, which may not be the case. It is the disconnection from your body. It is the mitigation that is the real cause behind the problem. And for you to be able to heal that, you have to know how to get into your body, which I'll explain how to do later in this episode. Number 2, not attending the bathroom calls immediately and waiting until the last minute and then rushing. This may be a bad habit because all of us are now glued to our screens and we delay and delay and delay. Or it may be a neurodivergent thing. But this is also a trauma response. How so? Well, in a narcissistic relationship, you are trained to not to listen to your intuition, to suppress your impulses, to disconnect from your sensations and feelings. You're told that they're wrong. You cannot listen to yourself. The only authority that can ever tell you what's going on, if you're feeling something correctly or not, is me. You have to come to me to check if you're hungry or not, when that is something you should feel. Over time, we learn to suppress our awareness of the pain and the pressure until it becomes too intense to handle, and then we rush. This is the trauma response that I struggled for a long time without knowing what was going on. The same is applicable to pain, physical pain, because there is so much pain in a narcissistic relationship. I'm not talking about emotional pain. Now I'm talking about, let's say, nerve pain. I'm talking about joint pain. And there is no one taking care of you. So your body mitigates for it. Your body gifts you a survival response of suppressing your awareness of what's going on in your body. And you may not even know that you're in pain. And you may become aware of it after having left the monster. I remember I once broke my toenail and I was not aware of any pain for a long time. Then accidentally, I looked at my foot and noticed there was so much blood. And I was shocked, and at the same time I panicked. I was like, what the hell? It's broken. But I don't remember feeling any pain. And then I thought maybe I'm crazy, maybe something is wrong with me. However, then I got to know that this is a common thing among survivors. Recently, I got to work with somebody who found out that their foot had fractured 15 to 16 times and healed itself without them feeling anything about it, without them knowing that it had happened. Why? Because of narcissistic abuse trauma and the numbness, the suppression of sensations. Number 3, difficulty with hunger cues. Our body tells us when we are hungry and when we need to stop eating. That also gets messed up in narcissistic abuse survivors. The same principle applies here. We suppress our hunger and we keep doing that, which is why a lot of people forget to eat. They don't even remember feeling hungry. It's only when they feel starving, they feel like, no, it's getting too much. That's when their body pushes it and forces it, and then it doesn't show up as hunger, it shows up as pain, and they just grab whatever they can and stuff their faces with it, only to satiate that feeling and not eat peacefully. The other side of the same coin is overeating, eating a lot. You are dissociated from your body. Your stomach is full, there is no space, but you are eating and eating. You're thinking you're somewhere else. Your brain is revivifying all the things that have happened in the past, and you are trying to think about them. You are experiencing an intense emotional flashback while you are stuffing yourself. That leads to a lot of weight gain. You don't do it intentionally, it just happens, and then there are problems like bloating, hyperacidity, vomiting, and whatnot. You may not be having a flashback and may still eat uncontrollably, because that sensation, that emptiness within is what comes up during eating. When you eat, it's like a secondary gain. You feel like you're filling that empty thing with food, but it never gets filled. And that is what also leads to a lot of eating disorders. Number 4, not sleeping until you're fully exhausted. You may spend a lot of time scrolling unnecessarily. You may be paining and aching, yet you don't feel it. You may have walked, let's say, 10, 15 kilometers that day and still not feel like sleeping. People say, oh, you need to tire yourself. But that doesn't work for me. I'm a trauma survivor. My brain is like this, especially at night. That's when all thoughts start coming up. And that's when I start thinking about all the things that happened in the past and what I survived and all these memories. I start ruminating. This is a clear sign of how you are totally disconnected from your body. Your body shows you that it needs rest, but it's like there's a block here which does not let that signal go in here. It's only when you feel utterly exhausted and you can't keep your eyes open no matter what, you go to sleep. That's such a tiring way to rest, isn't it? Your lack of awareness of your body is what keeps that disconnection alive. And to be able to build that connection, to lay, let's say, a foundation for it, what you can simply start doing is you can become intentional in listening to different sensations and cues. For example, intentionally checking a couple of times during the day to see if you're hungry, to check if you need to use the washroom, to check if you're feeling tired and if you need to rest, if you need to take a nap. You need to learn what your narcissistic partner or parent did not allow you to experience. To make this exercise easier, you can set alarms at different times for the day and name them. Do I need to drink some water right now? Do I feel thirsty? Do I want to take a break and practice some kind of silence for a minute or two? Do I need to go in and try to relax my body? What do I need right now is the question that you should be asking if you are chronically disconnected from your body. Number 5, and the last one, experiencing hot and cold flashes. I call it hormonal disconnection. If it is too hot outside, you will start feeling cold flashes. It's really cold and you will feel hot flashes. But why? Because of all the stress accumulated in the body. Because of how your nervous system has lived in the survival state. How disattuned your vagus nerve is. And how that has changed the circadian rhythm, the temperature regulating system of your body. The hormonal imbalances massively impact what your brain does, how your nervous system acts, and how that influences the overall homeostasis. What your narcissistic partner or parent did to you completely imbalanced these systems, and that's why you experience these hot and cold flashes. It is a sign of massive panic and anxiety as well, which will only go away if you learn how to regulate your nervous system. Check out my signature program called Heal After Narcissistic Abuse, HANA. In this program, I'll help you understand how you get traumatized in a narcissistic relationship, how to approach your healing, and I give you all the tools necessary and required to move on, heal, and to become your true authentic self. Want instant access? Click the I button above or the link in the description of this episode. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I'll talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.